Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca and welcome back to...
Okay, I gotta take this thing off, it doesn't feel right.
So the next two videos will be going back over the entire show, explaining the emotional journey of our two leads. We'll be starting today with Sherlock, since that's unintentionally what I ended up focusing on anyway, and as a nice farewell since I suspect we'll be saying goodbye to his perspective soon, and then be shifting focus to John's point of view next time. These videos are particularly inspired by Natty's 2.0 rating, which came out towards the end of last year, and presented a new look of when the characters realized their feelings for each other, and how they were feeling about each other at every point, and offered everyone the chance to kind of test for themselves how she came to her conclusion. The 2.0 reading itself is actually no longer available, but you can find Natty back on Tumblr at Loudest Subtext in TV, which is very exciting! She's back! Yay! I love Natty. Anyway, my understanding of their emotions is pretty similar to the 2.0 reading, barring a few small tweaks based on information provided in The Abominable Bride, and I will be trying to play the game that Natty presented, and explaining all of the hints of the characters' feelings for each other. Fair warning, these next two are probably going to be a little bit painful, but if there's anything that will get you even more eager to finally see John and Sherlock's romance come to a climax, this is it. So let's begin before the show even starts. Sherlock started off as a happy child who had kind parents and dreamed of adventure.
But initially, he wanted to be a pirate.
Mycroft had been telling him he was stupid and inadequate his entire life.
I am the smart one.
I used to think I was an idiot.
Both of us thought you were an idiot, Sherlock. We had nothing else to go on till we met other children. Don't be stupid. You always were so stupid. Such a disappointment.
I'm not stupid.
You're a very stupid little boy. The east wind is coming, Sherlock. It's coming to get you.
It's a story my brother told me when we were kids. The east wind, this terrifying force that lays waste to all in its path, seeks out the unworthy and plucks them from the earth. That was generally me.
Nice.
He was a rubbish big brother.
But for a while, he didn't let it get to him. Even when he had trouble fitting in, he still had his dog, Redbeard, who loved him, and he was happy.
Come on, it's me. Oh, it's me, come on. Good boy, clever boy.
Then Redbeard died, and he realized that even when you're loved, you can still lose it. Especially after Mycroft made fun of him for believing the lie his parents told him about Redbeard going to live on the farm.
Oh, by the way, Sherlock.
Do you remember Redbeard?
I'm not a child anymore, Mycroft.
No, of course you're not.
He realized two of the people he trusted most had lied to him, and that he had lost the thing that was most dear to him. He finally started to take Mycroft's insults to heart, as well as his insistence that other people aren't worth the effort, that he should try not to care.
Oh, Watson. Nothing made me. I made me. Redbeard.
He started trying to emulate Mycroft, but being that isolated made him absolutely miserable, and people still didn't like him.
Put the wind up, everybody. We hated him. We'd come down to breakfast in the formal hall, and this freak would know you'd been shagging the previous night.
I simply observed.
And so he turned to drugs to cope, culminating in a particularly bad overdose.
We have an agreement, my brother and I, ever since that day. Wherever I find him, whatever back alley or doss house, there will always be a list.
Mycroft starts trying to make it up to Sherlock, and Sherlock is caught between resenting him and still really looking up to him and wanting to be more like him. This is where we're introduced to Sherlock's main struggle as a character. Because of Mycroft's influence, Sherlock feels that in order to be strong, he has to push away his emotions. But to truly grow as a character, he needs to learn to embrace them and let others into his heart. Sherlock has always known he's gay and wants to find someone, but he finds it very hard to trust people, because again, most people tend not to like him, and even those closest to you can betray you. Eventually, Sherlock stops speaking to Mycroft, but he continues pretending to be heartless to try to keep his heart safe. He's so distant that even people who have known him for years know almost nothing about him.
You know him better than I do.
I've known him for 5 years and no, I don't.
He starts solving crimes because he realizes that he can use his skills to help people, which he likes doing, and it keeps him occupied so he's a little bit less lonely. Even if no one at Scotland Yard likes him, the people he helps see his kind heart and absolutely adore him.
Sherlock.
Sherlock. Anything on the menu, whatever you want, free. On the house for you and for your date.
They also all think he's gay, which is a bit telling. Sherlock gets kicked out of the place where he's staying, and he knows he can go to Mrs. Hudson, and it would actually be nice to be around someone who actually likes him, but living with someone else would make it easier. He happens to complain to Mike Stamford one day that it's hard to find someone to live with, and it's the best stroke of luck he will ever have, apart from being an unkillable gay who literally never dies.
Told Mike this morning that I must be a difficult man to find a flatmate for.
After talking to Mike, he goes to secure an innocent man's alibi.
I need to know what Bruce is for in the next 20 minutes. A man's alibi depends on it. Text me.
And ends up getting asked out by a woman he met the day before. He declines her offer.
I was wondering if you'd like to have coffee.
Black, 2 sugars, please. I'll be upstairs.
He goes back upstairs to work on other experiments, distracting himself from how lonely he is, when Mike comes back with a very handsome army doctor. And because Sherlock likes helping people, he's probably doubly attracted to a man who would risk his life to save and heal others. He's instantly attracted, and he also knows why Mike brought him. And so he tries to be polite and make a good impression by impressing John. He can tell that John is bored out of his mind, so maybe he'll like the mystery of all of it.
Here. Use mine. Oh. Thank you.
It's an old friend of mine, John Watson.
Afghanistan or Iraq?
Sorry?
Which was it, Afghanistan or Iraq?
How did you know about Afghanistan?
Got my eye on a nice little place in central London. Together we ought to be able to afford it. We'll meet there tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock. Sorry, got a dash. I think I left my riding crop in the mortuary.
Is that it?
Is that what?
We've only just met, and we're going to go look at a flat.
Problem?
We don't know a thing about each other. I don't know where we're meeting. I don't even know your name.
I know you're an army doctor and you've been invalided home from Afghanistan. I know you've got a brother who's worried about you, but you won't go to him for help because you don't approve of him, possibly because he's an alcoholic, more likely because he recently walked out on his wife. And I know that your therapist thinks you're limp psychosomatic, quite correctly, I'm afraid. It's enough to be going on with, don't you think?
He even winks as he leaves the room, barely containing his immediate interest in John.
The name's Sherlock Holmes and the address is 221B Baker Street.
We know from Tab that Sherlock hovered outside the door when he appeared to dash off, long enough to overhear Mike saying that he's always like that. And I like to imagine that he collapsed against the wall, asking himself what he thought he was doing. He knows nobody likes him and feelings are dangerous. Why is he flirting with this guy? It's because you're in love, Sherlock. You've met the love of your life. You just don't know it yet. You poor naive fool. You don't know. He does really want John to like him. He thinks this is the best chance he'll have of having a friend, if nothing else. He's warm and accommodating when he meets John the next day.
Hello. Mr. Holmes.
Sherlock, please.
And seems really happy to be introducing Mrs. Hudson to his new friend.
Mrs. Hudson, Dr. John Watson.
He patiently waits at the top of the stairs for John. And when John thinks the flat is messy, he very quietly starts tidying things up to try to make him more comfortable.
Well, this could be very nice. Very nice indeed.
Yes. Yes, I think so. My thoughts precisely. So I went straight ahead and moved in.
Rubbish cleaned out. Oh. So this is
Well, obviously I can straighten things up a bit.
Mrs. Hudson then comes in and mentions that she thinks John is Sherlock's boyfriend. And rather than correcting her to again try to make John more comfortable, Sherlock instead turns the other way and remains silent, bracing himself for John's reaction to the idea. And John reacts relatively well.
What do you think then, Dr. Watson? There's another bedroom upstairs if you've been needing 2 bedrooms.
Of course we'll be needing 2.
Oh, don't worry, there's all sorts around here. Mrs. Turner next door's got married once.
And then John mentions that he looked him up online, which is very promising. And Sherlock tries to contain his excitement, asking if he found anything interesting. He's disappointed when John apparently doesn't like his website.
I looked you up on the internet last night.
Anything interesting?
Found your website, The Science of Deduction.
What did you think?
He goes back to playing up the cool, mysterious angle and tells John that he already used his talents on him and refuses to explain how it works.
You said you could identify a software designer by his tie and an airline pilot by his left thumb?
Yes. And I can read your military career in your face and your leg and your brother's drinking habits in your mobile phone.
How?
What
Lestrade comes then, and Sherlock is so excited to have the chance to solve a case and stop a serial killer that no one else can, that he literally twirls and leaps for joy.
Brilliant! Yes! 4 serial suicides and now a note. It's Christmas. Mrs. Hudson, I'll be late. Might need some food.
He gets so excited that he dashes off, nearly leaving John behind.
John, have a cup of tea. Make yourself at home. Don't wait up.
But when John yells about his leg, Sherlock realizes that maybe he could invite John to go with him. There's nothing big about that, right? He's just seeing how well they get along. Maybe they'll have a little bit of fun. It's definitely not because he's already hoping John will be a part of his life in every way. If it were, those feelings would show through in his invitation, right?
You're a doctor. In fact, you're an army doctor.
Yes.
Any good?
Very good.
Seen a lot of injuries then. Violent deaths.
Yes.
Bit of trouble too, I bet.
Of course, yes. Enough for a lifetime, far too much.
Want to see some more?
Oh, God, yes.
Oh yeah, well, at least John seems to be into it. On the car ride there, he can sense John's confusion and finally offers to explain things, taking the risk that John will like him less when he does understand, just like everyone else always does. We see in the deduction that for Sherlock, time literally stood still when John entered the room.
Yes, how did you know?
I didn't know, I saw. Your haircut, the way you hold yourself says military. But your conversation as you entered the room...
A bit different from my day.
Said trained at Bath, so army doctor, obvious. Your face is tanned. But no tan above the wrists. You've been abroad, but not sunbathing. Your lips really bad when you walk, but you don't ask for a chair when you stand, like you've forgotten about it. So it's at least partly psychosomatic. That says the original circumstances of the injury were traumatic. Wounded in action, then. Wounded in action, suntan, Afghanistan, or Iraq.
Sherlock is nervous when he finishes, but John reacts the opposite of how he expects. John thinks he's amazing. Extraordinary.
That was amazing.
You think so?
Of course it was. It was extraordinary. It was quite extraordinary.
It's not what people normally say.
What do people normally say?
Piss off.
When they get out of the car, Sherlock is furious with himself for assuming someone is straight.
Harry's short for Harriet.
Harry's your sister.
What exactly am I supposed to be doing here?
Sister!
Again, everyone at Skyland Yard actively dislikes him, but he's used to putting up walls around himself, so he pretends like it doesn't bother him.
Hello, freak.
I'm here to see Detective Inspector Lestrade.
Why?
I was invited.
Why?
I think he wants me to take a look.
Well, you know what I think, don't you?
Always, Sally.
How do you get a colleague? Did he follow you home?
Would it be better if I just waited?
No.
Freak's here, bringing him in.
Ah, Anderson. Here we are again.
It's a crime scene. I don't want it contaminated. Are we clear on that?
Quite clear.
He refuses to tell Lestrade who John is because he's not quite sure what he can expect to come of it yet.
But who is he? I said he's with me.
They get upstairs and John continues complimenting him and Sherlock is floored.
It's brilliant. Sorry. God, it's fantastic.
Do you know you do that out loud?
Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, it's fine.
Still, he is more used to working alone and dashes off again. But it's less than an hour before he starts blowing up John's phone trying to get him to come back on the case with him, even using the fact that John is drawn to danger against him.
I hope I'm not distracting you.
He waited like a total of 5 minutes between those texts. Sherlock, calm down. He also calls to make reservations at Angelo's at this very same time, so John can meet another person who likes him and not get the wrong impression from Anderson and Sally. He tries to play down the fact that he's interested in John specifically, but at the end of his explanation of what's happening, it's pretty obvious what he's up to.
Have you talked to the police?
4 people are dead. There isn't time to talk to the police.
So why are you talking to me?
Mrs. Hudson took my skull.
So I'm basically filling in for your skull?
Relax, you're doing fine. Well?
Well, what?
Well, you could just sit there and watch telly.
Well, you want me to come with you?
I like company when I go out, and I think better when I talk aloud. Skull just attracts attention, so...
John brings up Sally and the accusation that Sherlock gets off on adventure, and Sherlock already knows John well enough to throw it right back at him.
Problem?
Yeah, Sergeant Donovan.
What about her?
She said, you get off on this, you enjoy it.
And I said dangerous, and here you are.
They head off to Angelo's, and he, like Mrs. Hudson, assumes that Sherlock has finally found someone, and Sherlock doesn't bother to deny it.
Sherlock, anything on the menu, whatever you want, free. On the house for you and for your date.
Do you want to eat? I'm not his date.
He starts kind of focusing on the case, but he instantly corrects John when he assumes that Sherlock likes women.
What do real people have, then, in their real lives?
Friends? No, people they know, people they like, people they don't like. Girlfriends, boyfriends?
Yes, well, as I was saying, dull.
You don't have a girlfriend, then?
Girlfriend? No, not really my area.
Whereas he didn't correct Mrs. Hudson or Angelo. And to top it off, here he just says he knows having a boyfriend is fine despite not having one, in direct contrast to saying women aren't his area.
Oh, right. Do you have a boyfriend? Which is fine, by the way.
I know it's fine.
So you've got a boyfriend?
No.
Right, okay. You're unattached. Like me. Fine. Good.
Unfortunately, I don't think he was expecting all of this to be quite so effective on John so quickly, and so when he realizes that John was only asking about his sexuality to ask him out, he kind of panics, although you can see on his face that he is flattered. He lets John much more easily than he did Molly, being sure to mention that he is flattered, but he's just not looking for a relationship right now.
John, I think you should know that I consider myself married to my work, and while I'm flattered by your interest, I'm really not looking for anything.
No, I'm not asking. No. I'm just saying, it's all fine.
Good. Thank you.
Again, he's doing this because he's kind of panicking. He's not used to letting other people in, and he's really worried that John will decide he doesn't like him if he spends enough time with him. The cabby comes, and Sherlock leads John on a daring chase through the streets of London, and continues to be charmed by the fact that John actually likes spending time with him.
As they go.
Hey, where did you get this? Detective Inspector Lestrade.
Yeah, I pickpocket him when he's annoying. You can keep that one, I've got plenty at the flat. What?
Nothing, just welcome to London. That was ridiculous. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever done.
And you invaded Afghanistan.
That wasn't just me. Why aren't we back at the restaurant?
They could keep an eye out.
And he's overjoyed that he can help cure John of his limp.
Mrs. Hudson, Dr. Watson will take the room upstairs.
Says who?
Says the man at the door. Sherlock texted me. He said you forgot this.
He really is very soft towards John. But unfortunately, the police have already broken in, and Sherlock is really upset that John is going to find out about his past drug use, especially like this.
What are you doing?
Well, I knew you'd find a case. I'm not stupid.
You can't just break into my flat.
But you can't withhold evidence, and I didn't break into your flat.
Well, what do you call this, then?
It's a drugs bust.
Seriously. This guy, a junkie, have you met him?
John.
I'm pretty sure you could search this flat all day. You wouldn't find anything you could call recreation.
John, you probably want to shut up now.
Yeah,
He's really annoyed, and everyone here is being mean to him. And so he reverts back to pushing people away by trying to intimidate them.
According to someone, the murderer has the case, and we found it in the hands of our favourite psychopath.
I'm not a psychopath, Anderson. I'm a high-functioning sociopath. Do your research.
We already know it's an act. He makes even more of a bad impression on John, and he feels remorseful but keeps pushing through.
Yeah, but if you were dying, if you'd been murdered in your very last few seconds, what would you say?
Please, God, let me live.
Use your imagination.
I don't have to.
Yeah, but if you were clever, really clever. Jennifer Wilson running all those lovers, she was clever.
When the cabby comes, it's a perfect excuse to get away from the ruined situation. There's almost no chance John will still like him after this. There is an intellectual curiosity here, but he mostly goes because he doesn't care about his life that much. He thinks it's hopeless because he's already ruined his best chance at happiness.
If I wanted to understand, what would I do?
Let me take you for a ride.
So you can kill me too.
I don't want to kill you, Mr. Holmes. I'm going to talk to you. And then you're going to kill yourself.
He knows as soon as he sees the fake gun that he's not in any real danger, and so he just plays along.
I know a real gun when I see one.
Except the cabbie does manage to get inside of his head and access the darkest part of him. The part of him that is willing to do anything to distract from his loneliness.
Still the addict. But this is what you're really addicted to. You do anything at all, to stop being bored.
Side note, we see throughout the series that Sherlock says he's distracting from his boredom when he really is lonely. A running thread that was very clearly inspired by the private life of Sherlock Holmes.
How I envy you your mind, Watson.
You do?
It's placid, imperturbable, prosaic. But my mind rebels against stagnation. It's like a racing engine tearing itself to pieces because it's not connected up with the work for which it was built. Holmes, where's your self-control? Fair question.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself?
Thoroughly. But this will take care of it.
What the hell are you doing?
Bored.
Oh, John, I envy you so much.
You envy me.
Your mind, it's so placid, straightforward, barely used. Mine's like an engine racing out of control. A rocket tearing itself to pieces, trapped on the launch pad. I need a case!
You've just solved one by harpooning a dead pig, apparently.
That was this morning. When's the next one?
Busy?
Just occupying myself. Sometimes it's so hard not smoking.
And the cabbie, knowingly or not, is tapping into that here. Sherlock very nearly takes the pill. Pretty sure he'll live, but not really caring if he doesn't. Except then he's snapped out of it by the cabbie being shot. The cabbie had just talked him into his darkest mental space and was trying to kill him, and so he reacts pretty violently here.
Did I get it right? Okay. Tell me this. Your sponsor, who was it? The one who told you about me, my fan. I want a name. Oh. You're dying, but there's still time to hurt you.
He's still feeling pretty cynical. He has no idea who could have shot the cabbie and doesn't think about it too much until Lestrade asks. Then, as he describes the man who saved him, someone who is used to danger and brave and moral with a history of military service, he realizes John saved him and his heart melts.
So the shooter, no sign?
Cleared off before we got here. But a guy like that would have had enemies, I suppose. One of them could have been following him, but got nothing to go on.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, give me.
The bullet they just dug out of the walls from a handgun. Kill shot over that distance from that kind of a weapon, that's a crack shot you're looking for, but not just a marksman. A fighter, his hands couldn't have shaken the tool, so clearly he's acclimatized to violence. He didn't fire until I was in immediate danger, though, so strong moral principle. You're looking for a man probably with a history of military service and nerves of steel.
For the first time, Sherlock has found someone he can trust. John's only known him for one day and seen some of the worst things about him, but cared enough to not only track him down across the city, but also save his life. All of Sherlock's hesitation goes out the window, and he has to get over to John immediately to talk about this.
Actually, do you know what? Ignore me.
Sorry?
Ignore all of that. It's just the shock talking.
Where are you going?
I just need to talk about the rent.
Yeah, I've still got questions
What
for you.
now? I'm in shock. Look, I've got a blanket.
And John has the same sense of humor he does. They kind of sidestep how big of a deal this was, and giggle about the adventure of it all.
Good shot.
Yes.
Yes, must have been. Through that window. Well, you'd know. Need to get the powder burns out of your fingers. I don't suppose you'd serve time for this, but let's avoid the court case. Are you all right?
Yes, of course I'm all right.
We have just killed a man.
Yes, it's true. But he wasn't a very nice man.
No, he wasn't really, was he?
You know, frankly, a bloody awful cabby.
That's true, he was a bad cabbie. Should have seen the route he took us to get here.
Stop. So we can't giggle, it's a crime scene. Stop it.
As they walk away, John calls him out for going to take the pill and throws his usual insult of idiot right back at him.
You were going to take that damn pill, weren't you?
Of course I wasn't. Biding my time. You'd turn up.
You didn't. That's how you get your kicks, isn't it? You risk your life to prove you're clever.
Why would I do that?
Because you're an idiot.
Sherlock thinks they understand each other perfectly and decides to ask him on a date.
Dinner? Starving.
And it is intended that way. They had just literally gone out to dinner, and Sherlock remembers what happened the last time they went out to dinner together. He knows what he's doing. Mycroft shows up, and Sherlock thinks he's mocking him for caring about someone, but he's going to do it anyway.
So, another case cracked. How very public-spirited. That's never really your motivation, is it?
He finally has a chance at happiness. He flirts back and forth with John as they leave, but he can't quite bring himself to be direct about the true source of his happiness.
So, dim sum. I can always predict the fortune cookies. No, you can't. Almost can. You did get shot, though. Sorry? In Afghanistan, there was an actual wound. Oh, yeah, the shoulder. Shoulder, I thought so. No, you didn't. The left one. Lucky guess. Never guess. Yes, you do. What are you so happy about? Moriarty. What's Moriarty? Absolutely no idea.
They go out for dinner, and it's lovely. And a day or two later, Mike Stamford tells Sherlock about John's blog, which is fascinating. He can find out exactly what John thinks about him, and it's obvious from John's descriptions that his attraction is mutual. There are some concerning elements. For example, John seems to think he's arrogant and unfeeling, but also an oblivious child. But Sherlock can fix that. He just has to act more warm and sexually inviting. At this point, Sherlock makes his biggest mistake that isn't directly influenced by Moriarty. Instead of telling John he's reconsidered his position on being married to his work in a direct way, he decides to make a game of it and flirt nonstop, trying to get John to make the first move. He probably thinks a relationship is inevitable. And Sherlock is a bit of a romantic, so maybe he just wants to take his time. But he should have spoken to John here. It would have saved us all so much suffering. Instead, he hangs out with John constantly and watches movies with him and turns down cases and tries to make John explode under the pressure like his beer cans. In the next episode, we get evidence through Sue Lin that Sherlock was slow to accept John's offer because he was worried that John wouldn't like him, and because of what he's been through in the past.
You wouldn't like me all that much. Can I maybe decide that for myself? I can't.
When we first see Sherlock in this episode, he defeats a sword fighter and then immediately preens in front of a mirror, wanting to look perfect for John. John comes in acting extremely tense, and instead of being annoyed, Sherlock is warm and accommodating.
You had a row with a machine?
Sort of. It sat there and I shouted abuse. Have you got cash?
Take my card.
And at the very end of the scene, even amused and triumphant. He's definitely deliberately winding John up, hoping it will cause him to snap and make the first move. But it doesn't work, and John comes back grumpier than ever.
Thank you.
Sherlock takes another case where he eagerly mentions to Sebastian that he has a friend, only for John to correct him.
This is my friend, John Watson.
Friend?
Colleague.
This causes Sherlock to back off from John emotionally to try and get some distance, which is why he ends up leaving John yelling outside of a locked room. Remember, those can represent hearts.
Sherlock! Sherlock, you okay? Yeah, anytime you feel like letting me in.
They continue to not work well together, and Sherlock doesn't understand what went wrong.
Look at the case. There was something tightly packed inside it.
Thanks, I'll take your word for it.
Problem?
Yeah, I'm not desperate to root around some bloke's dirty underwear.
When John mentions that he met a woman he likes at the clinic he applied at, Sherlock is annoyed.
I went to see about a job at that surgery.
How was it?
Great. She's great.
Who?
The job.
She?
It.
Again, he continues to try to distance himself from John. The second locked room scene in this episode is one of the worst parts of this entire show. Sherlock goes into his mirror's home and discovers that Mycroft's mirror had already been there and spilled water everywhere.
Someone else has been here. Somebody else broke into the flat and knocked over the vase, just like I did.
Referencing how Mycroft has emotionally damaged Sherlock, which is when John starts asking to be let into the locked room.
Think maybe you could let me in this time? Can you not keep doing this, please?
But Sherlock literally can't let him in because he's being strangled in his mirror's locked room by Mycroft's mirror.
Anytime you want to include me.
John! John!
No, I'm Sherlock Holmes and I always work alone because no one else can compete with my massive intellect.
Literally can't speak despite the fact that he's trying. And then to cap it all off, he convinces himself that he doesn't need to tell John that any of this is happening.
The milk's gone off and the washing started to smell. Somebody left here in a hurry 3 days ago.
You've gone all croaky. You're getting a cold.
Fine.
Despite being literally strangled by his own emotional repression. You know, this is fine. This is fine. I hate the water metaphor. I hate the water. I hate water. Moftis, I hate water now. They continue trying to solve the case, and Sherlock grabs John by both sides of his face when he needs to get him to concentrate.
Hey, Sherlock, what are you John, doing? Concentrate. I need you to concentrate. Close your eyes.
No, what? Why? Why? What are you doing?
I need you to maximize your visual memory.
They go to the museum a bit after this, and we see how empathetic Sherlock really is when he cries listening to Sulan's story.
They are called the Black Lotus. I had hoped after 5 years, maybe they would have forgotten me. But they never really let you leave. He's my brother.
Knowing how human he really is, the rest of this episode is excruciating. Sherlock stays up all night trying to solve this case and keep more people from dying, and he finally decides to switch it up and go out with John, only to be told that John already has a date with someone else. Sherlock is floored.
I need to get some air. We're going out tonight.
Actually, I've got a date.
What?
Sherlock musters up his courage and very plainly says that he was also suggesting a date, only for John to say that he hopes it wasn't.
To where two people who like each other go out and have fun?
That's what I was suggesting.
No, it wasn't. At least I hope not.
He's hurt by that, but he also hasn't given up yet.
Where are you taking her?
Cinema.
Ooh, dull, boring, predictable. Why don't you try this?
And so he crashes the date, intending to captivate John the whole time. And it works.
This is not their day job. No, sorry, I forgot. They're not a circus. They're a gang of international smugglers.
Sherlock keeps hoping Sarah will leave.
Well, I think perhaps I should leave you to it.
No,
yes, it would be
you
better
don't
to
have
study
go.
if you
You
left
can
now.
Stay. He's kidding. Please stay if you'd like.
Is it just me, or is anyone else starving?
Oh, God.
But she doesn't, and he gets very jealous around her.
So this is what you do? You and John, you solve puzzles for a living?
Consulting detective.
Oh. What are these squiggles?
They're numbers. In ancient Chinese dialect.
Oh, right, yeah, well, of course I should have known that.
When John gets kidnapped, he panics.
I got it! The cipher, the book. It's the London 8% that they used.
After figuring out where to go, he hops in a cab and stares at the London Eye lit up in gay pride colors, probably telling himself that if he saves John, he will tell him how he feels. And he shows up playing up himself, trying to get John to compliment him.
Sherlock Holmes is nothing at all like him. How would you describe me, John? Resourceful, dynamic, enigmatic?
Unfortunately, John still seems to prefer Sarah.
Don't worry. Next date won't be like this.
Like I explained in the video on the blogs, it's at this point that John revisits Sherlock's blog and pretends he's found it for the first time, really just being newly frustrated at how deceptively romantic John's writing style is. When he gets back from Belarus, he's throwing the world's gayest fit about it.
What the hell are you doing?
So you've written up the taxi driver case?
Yes.
A study in pink. Nice.
Well, you know, a pink lady, pink case, pink phone. There was a lot of pink. Did you like it?
No.
Why not? I thought you'd be flattered.
Flattered. Sherlock sees through everything and everyone in seconds. What's incredible, though, is how spectacularly ignorant he is about some things.
Now, hang on a minute. I didn't mean that in a...
Oh, you meant spectacularly ignorant in a nice way.
He tells John that all that matters to him is his work, trying to convince himself of the same.
But it's the solar system.
Oh, hell, what does that matter? So we go around the sun, if we went round the moon, or round and round the garden like a teddy bear, it wouldn't make any difference. All that matters to me is the work.
Without that, my brain rots. Put that in your blog. Or better still, stop inflicting your opinions on the world.
But of course, he gets even more upset when John goes to leave.
Where are you going?
Out. I need some air.
Oh, sorry, love.
He watches him out the window, clearly being more upset that John would rather be with Sarah than him.
Oh, it's a bit nippy out there. He should have wrapped himself up a bit more.
This is further supported later in Tab, when a paper on the solar system is associated with jealousy. We can see in this episode that Sherlock has a bit of a preoccupation with saving people time by trying to stop them wasting romantic energy on people who will never be attracted to them.
That plus the extremely suggestive fact that he just left his number under this dish here, and I'd say you better break it off now and save yourself the pain.
Charming.
Well done. Just saving her time, isn't that kinder?
As he gets into Moriarty's case, Sherlock is both trying to convince himself that he doesn't need John, and is pushing his feelings away so he can keep working.
I remember there's a woman who might die.
What for? This hospital's full of people dying, Doctor. Why don't you go and cry by their bedside and see what good it does them?
Well, caring about them helps save them.
Nope.
Then I'll continue not to make that mistake.
Oh, you find that easy, do you?
Yes, very. Oh, you're angry with me, so you won't help. Not much cop, this caring lark.
So he's a bit offended when John assumes that means he's attracted to the maniac blowing people up.
I think he wants to be distracted.
I hope you'll be very happy together.
Sorry, what?
He warns John not to make him a hero. He can't keep people safe. He'll always fail him.
I've disappointed you.
It's good. It's good deduction, yeah.
Don't make people into heroes, John. Heroes don't exist, and if they did, I wouldn't be one of them.
And he doesn't understand why John seems so jealous of Moriarty. John is the one who started dating someone else. He does try to reassure John of his humanity, though, by doing romantic things like pointing out the stars.
Beautiful, isn't it?
I thought you didn't care about things like
Doesn't mean I can't appreciate it.
Or sharing in the relief of saving a boy's life.
Please, there's somebody there. Somebody help me.
There you go. Go find out where he is and pick him up.
But it doesn't quite work, because what John needs is a big moment to see that Sherlock really does care about him, and he gets one. Sherlock tries to send John away before going to face Moriarty, to make sure that John isn't put in danger because of him again.
I won't be in for tea. I'm going to Sarah's. There's still some of that risotto left in the fridge. Milk. We need milk.
I'll get some.
Really?
Really?
And some beans, then?
But Moriarty is already ahead of him. He arrives at the pool, which we know is going to be a big emotional scene because of all that water, planning to settle things with Moriarty, and is shocked when John is the one who's there to greet him.
Evening. This is a turn-up, isn't it, Sherlock?
John. What the hell?
Bet you never saw this coming.
He has to face the possibility, just for a moment, that the person he loves has betrayed him. And for a second, he's as lost and scared as he was when he lost Redbeard. We can see that in John's description. And Sherlock doesn't calm down when he sees John is covered in explosives. He's terrified.
What would you like me to make him say next? Gottlogir. Gottlogir. Gottlogir.
Stop it.
Nice touch, this. The pool where little Carl died. I stopped him. I can stop John Watson, too. Stop his heart.
Who are you?
He tries to play it cool in front of Moriarty, but he keeps glancing over at John, trying to make sure he's okay.
Don't be silly. Someone else is holding the rifle. 30 million quid just to get you to come out and play.
You're right.
You can talk, Johnny boy. Go ahead.
He tries to give Moriarty what he thinks he wants, but he's gotten it wrong.
Take it.
Huh? Oh.
That? The missile plan.
Boring. I could have got them anywhere.
John tries to use this as an opening to let Sherlock escape, but Sherlock can't leave him. He doesn't even think about it for a second. Instead, his reaction is to glance up to see how the sniper will react.
Sherlock, run!
Oh! Good! Very good.
He won't leave John. He loves him. And it might be in this moment that he realizes that it's actually love. Immediately after this, Moriarty threatens to burn out Sherlock's heart. And Sherlock tries to pretend that he doesn't have one, but it doesn't work.
If you don't stop prying, I will burn you. I will burn the heart out of you.
I have been reliably informed that I don't have one.
But we both know that's not quite true.
Sherlock stays composed until Moriarty leaves.
Catch you later.
No, you won't.
But as soon as he's gone, he freaks out, throwing himself to his knees, tearing off the coat, demanding to know if John is okay.
All right.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Sherlock.
Sherlock!
You're not hurt, Watson, for God's sake. Say you are not hurt. Daredev's #1. He doesn't quite have words to thank John for what he did, but he tries.
That thing that you did that you offered to do, that was good.
John jokes about the ambiguous relationship between them, and Sherlock laughs along, maybe thinking that they'll actually start talking about this now, maybe even suspecting in this moment that John loves him back. He did just try to die for him after all.
Oh, glad no one saw that.
Hmm?
You ripping my clothes off in a darkened swimming pool, people might talk.
Be with you, little else.
But before they get anywhere, Moriarty rushes back in, and you can see the disappointment and fear on Sherlock's face.
I'm so changeable. It is a weakness with me, but to be fair to myself, it is my only weakness.
He looks at John to determine if he's prepared to die to stop Moriarty, and finds that he is.
You can't be allowed to continue. You just can't. I would try to convince you, but everything I have to say has already crossed your mind.
He maintains eye contact with John, the love of his life, for as long as he can, thinking it will be the last time he ever sees him.
Probably my answers crossed yours.
But then Irene saves them, and somehow, between wondering who made the phone call and everything else, they still don't talk about their feelings, despite Sherlock wondering if John likes him back. But then John goes away on a trip with Sarah, and Sherlock pretends not to notice. He is a bit surprised to learn that John broke up with her, because he wasn't that upset. They bond over it, but then John starts throwing himself at women at an alarming rate, and Sherlock convinces himself that John is straight. He starts studying tobacco ash the same way Private Life Holmes did, when he was trying to distract himself from his desperately unspoken feelings.
Where do you think our clients come from?
I have a website.
In which you enumerate 240 different types of tobacco ash. Nobody's reading your website. Right then.
Please, Mrs. Hudson, he's working on a definitive study of tobacco ash. So far, he has classified 140 different kinds of ashes.
When we meet Irene, Sherlock's lack of attraction to her is juxtaposed with his strong attraction to John, starting by showing us how happy he and John are together.
Buckingham Palace. Right. I'm seriously fighting an impulse to steal an ashtray. What are we doing here? Sherlock, seriously, what?
I don't know.
Here to see the Queen?
Oh, apparently, yes.
When Irene is naked, Sherlock barely glances at anything other than her face, but zeroes in all over John. Irene mentions that John is attracted to her and isn't sure if Sherlock is, and Sherlock is sure to mention that he doesn't like looking at naked women, but that he does confiscate John's laptop to stop him from looking.
Are you feeling exposed?
I think John knows where to look.
No, I think he knows exactly where. Not sure about you.
I want to look at naked women. I borrow John's laptop.
You do borrow my laptop.
I confiscate it.
John and Irene start flirting in front of him, and Sherlock gets flustered, trying to bring John's attention back to him.
Oh. And you like policemen?
I like detective stories and detectives. Brainy's the new sexy.
This is a car. The position of the car relative to the hiker at the time of the backfire, and the fact that the death blow was to the back of the head, that's all you need to know.
John then gets put in danger because of him again, and Sherlock panics.
Mr. Archer, at the count of 3, shoot Dr. Watson.
What? I don't know the code.
1.
I don't know the code.
2.
She didn't tell me. I don't know it!
He's already preoccupied with the fear that Moriarty will use John against him. He basically directly threatened to do so at the pool. And now it's happening anyway. The pressure of saving John is the only thing that can make Sherlock pay attention to Irene's measurements. That and the extra hint she gives him.
3.
No, stop!
He figures it out, and Irene tries to be flattered, and Sherlock tells her not to be.
Thank you. You were very observant.
Observant?
And flattered.
Don't be.
Irene then drugs and beats Sherlock, and then tampers with his phone to try to elicit a certain response, but it still doesn't work. It does get John curious, though, which might have been the true goal. John clearly thinks that Sherlock is interested in Irene, and mentions that he's not stupid, and Sherlock sarcastically asks where he got that idea because he has it all wrong.
I'm wondering who could have got hold of your phone, because it would have been in your coat, wouldn't it?
I'll leave you to your deductions.
I'm not stupid, you know.
But do you get that idea?
He's hiding here not because he's attracted to Irene, but because he's not, and he doesn't want John to realize that he's gay, because he's pretty sure that John is straight, and thinks that if John knows he's gay, he'll figure out that he's in love with him, and he doesn't want his feelings ruining things between them. A few months of constant badgering texts later, John decides to throw a Christmas party, and Sherlock is fuming about having to be around another of John's girlfriends.
No, thank you, Sarah.
No. He's not good with names.
No, I can get this. No, Sarah was the doctor, and then there was the one with the spots, and then the one with the nose, and then who was after the boring teacher?
Nobody.
Jeanette! Process of elimination.
He's extremely rude towards her, just like he was with Sarah. That, and he was complaining that John is leaving him alone for Christmas.
And John, I hear you're off to your sister's. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sherlock was complaining. Same.
When Molly arrives, he takes out his own frustration on Molly's hopes for a new relationship, never considering that her feelings are for him because he had thought she'd moved on, the same way he thinks John has. Remember, they're mirrors.
So you've got a new boyfriend, Molly, and you're serious about him.
What? Sorry,
In
what?
fact, you're seeing him this very night and giving him a gift.
Take a day off.
Shut up and have a drink. Oh, come on. Surely you've all seen the present at the top of the bag. Perfectly wrapped with a bow. All the others are slapdash at best. It's for someone special, then.
He doesn't mean to hurt her, and he apologizes.
I am sorry. Forgive me.
Only to get yet another text, and John mentions that he's been counting all of them. Sherlock doesn't understand why.
It was me.
What, God, really?
What?
My phone.
57?
Sorry, what?
57 of those texts, the ones I've heard.
Thrilling that you've been counting.
He isn't tremendously upset by the news of Irene. In fact, he asks Mycroft if there's something wrong with him for not being more upset.
Do you ever wonder if there's something wrong with us?
All lives end. All hearts are broken. Caring is not an advantage, Sherlock.
Except he does take the cigarette. Something is bothering him, and it's the same thing that has been all evening, his unspoken feelings for John. We learn in the Sign of 3 that Sherlock was smoking around this time anyway.
John H. Watson.
In the video on Score, I talked about how Irene's theme has more to do with John and Sherlock's feelings for each other than it does Irene herself. So after John breaks it off with yet another girlfriend, Sherlock starts composing this new song, refusing to tell him what it's about.
You composing?
Helps me to think.
What are you thinking about?
Outside the window, he sees John flirting with yet another woman, but then John gets into a mysterious car.
You know, Mycroft could just phone me if he didn't have this bloody stupid power complex.
And not knowing if Moriarty is behind this, Sherlock follows. He has to keep John safe. He arrives at Battersea just after John and overhears Irene's voice. He doesn't rush in because he's not actually upset about her. Instead, he stays in the shadows listening to Irene and John talking about him, about where his romantic interests lie. And all of a sudden, when Irene points it out, it's obvious how jealous of her John is.
Tell him you're alive.
I can't.
Fine. I'll tell him. And I still won't help you.
What do I say?
What do you normally say? You've texted him a lot.
Just the usual stuff.
There is no usual in this case.
Good morning. I like your funny hat. I'm sad tonight. Let's have dinner. You look sexy on Crime Watch. Let's have dinner. I'm not hungry. Let's have dinner.
You flirted with Sherlock Holmes.
At him. He never
Now,
replies.
Sherlock always replies to everything. He's Mr. Punchline. He will outlive God trying to have the last word.
Does that make me special?
I don't know, maybe.
You jealous?
We're not a couple.
Yes, you are. There. I'm not dead. Let's have dinner.
John denies they're a couple and says he isn't gay, but then Irene cuts through that and John remains silent.
Who the hell knows about Sherlock Holmes? But for the record, if anyone out there still cares, I'm not actually gay.
Well, I am. Look at us both.
Sherlock sees and overhears all of this, and the realization that John loves him back cuts him right to the heart. He isn't ready to talk to John, so he runs away, but the fade from John's face to Sherlock opening his eyes makes it clear just who Sherlock is thinking about here. Knowing that John loves him back changes everything. He's clearly shaken, but then he gets a harsh reminder that those closest to him are also in the most danger. And so he realizes that he can't be with John. Not yet. Not until Moriarty is out of the picture. John tries to talk about it that night, and Sherlock looks away, avoiding his questions.
So she's alive then. How are we feeling about that?
Happy New Year, John.
Do you think you'll be seeing her again?
It reaffirms everything he's just learned, and he convinces himself that one day they'll talk. When Irene shows back up, Sherlock is still focused on John, on his jealousy.
Hamish. John Hamish Watson. Just if you were looking for baby names.
On his reactions to his deductions.
Go on. Impress a girl.
There's a margin of error, but I'm pretty sure there's a 7:47 leaving Heathrow tomorrow at 6:30 in the evening for Baltimore. Apparently it's going to save the world. Not sure how that could be true, but give me a moment. I've only been in the case for 8 seconds.
And the potential of the one way John hasn't complimented him yet.
Please don't feel obliged to tell me that was remarkable or amazing. John's expressed that thought in every possible variant available to the English language.
I would have you right here on this desk until you begged for mercy twice.
John, please can you check those flight schedules, see if I'm right?
When he makes the connection to Bond Air, he gets distracted and comes to hours later hoping John will still be there to talk to him.
Coventry.
I've never been. Is it nice?
Where's John?
He went out a couple of hours ago.
I was just talking to him.
He said you do that.
He's always talking to John.
You just carry on talking when I'm away.
I don't know. How often are you away?
He takes Irene's pulse, still trying to outsmart her, and assumes she's attracted to him.
Why would I want to have dinner if I wasn't hungry?
He's quick to see attraction now, whereas he was slow to see it at the Christmas party, because this is all relative to his awareness of John's attraction. Irene almost outsmarts him, but connecting it back to Moriarty, the way he can't be with John because of him, allows him to crack the code.
Jim Moriarty sends his love.
Yes, he's been in touch.
Didn't even ask for anything. I think he just likes to cause trouble. Now that's my kind of man.
And here you are. The dominatrix who brought a nation to its knees.
Although, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I think he came to the right answer through the wrong means. Regardless, Sherlock is so disgusted at Irene's apparent cruelty to someone he thinks she loves that he abandons her.
I've always assumed that love is a dangerous disadvantage. Thank you for the final proof.
It won't even last 6 months.
Sorry about dinner.
But of course he regrets that and later goes to save her.
When I say run, run.
And then never sees or hears from her again.
And the woman, she knew.
Hamish. John Hamish Watson. Just if you were looking for baby names.
God knows where she is.
A few months later, John mentions Irene again, and Sherlock continues to play into his incorrect belief that he's in love with her, because he thinks it's the best way to keep distance between them until he can get rid of Moriarty.
Sherlock, I have to give this to Mycroft. It's the government's now. I couldn't even give it...
Thank you.
Just a few short days later, though, and Sherlock is losing it. John hasn't dated anyone since Christmas, which would normally be a relief, but he's so available and so obviously in love with him. And Sherlock wants him so badly, but he can't have him. He's using every trick in the book, trying to dive from case to case, craving cigarettes and things 7% stronger. None of it is distracting from his overwhelming urges.
Nothing.
Military coup in Uganda. Another photo of you with the... cabinet reshuffle.
Nothing of importance. Oh, God! John, I need some. Get me some.
How about a nice cuppa, and perhaps you can put away your harpoon?
I need something stronger than tea. Perhaps 7% stronger.
He again is cynical about Mrs. Hudson's relationship because he's distressed about his own situation.
I wouldn't put any hopes on that cruiser, Mr. Chatterjee. He's got a wife in Doncaster that nobody knows about.
Well,
nobody except me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I really don't.
They get the Henry case, which is a distraction, but when they get to the inn and he overhears John and Gary talking about how they don't have a double room, Sherlock assumes that's because John asked for one.
Sorry we couldn't do a double room for you boys.
And he can't handle any of this. It only gets worse when they break into a military base and he sees John in action.
Ever heard of a spot check? Captain John Watson, 5th Northumberland Fusiliers.
Sir, Major Barrymore won't be pleased, sir. He'll want to see you both.
I'm afraid we won't have time for that. We'll need the full tour right away. Carry on. That's an order, Corporal.
Yes, sir.
Nice touch.
Haven't pulled rank in ages.
Enjoy it?
Oh, yeah.
And worse still, when John has given up all pretense and is openly ogling him. Sherlock is clearly flustered.
Oh, please, can we not do this time?
Do what?
You being all mysterious with your cheekbones and turning your coat collar up so you look cool.
I don't do that.
Yeah, you do.
They go out on the moors that night, and the exposure to the hound toxin brings all of Sherlock's fears to the forefront. He can't control them.
Look at me, I'm afraid, John. Afraid.
Sherlock.
Always been able to keep myself distant. Divorce myself from feelings. But look, you see, body's betraying me. Interesting, yes. Emotions. Grit on the lens, the fly in the ointment.
We see at the end of the episode that what Sherlock is most afraid of is Moriarty.
No! Not you! Not you!
And he'll later use those same phrases to describe romantic feelings.
If you are referring to romantic entanglement, Watson, which I rather fear you are, as I have often explained before, all emotion is abhorrent to me. It is the grit in a sensitive instrument, the crack in the lens.
Yes.
Well, there you are. You see, I've said it all before.
And so it's pretty easy to guess that he's not agitated by the dog, but by his fear of what Moriarty will do to John. He pushes John away using the heartless sociopath angle, knowing from John's blog that this will be most effective.
Oh, why would you listen to me? I'm just your friend.
I don't have friends.
Nah. Wonder why.
He also takes extra precautions and sends John to flirt with Louise Mortimer, hoping to distract him.
So?
Oh, you're a bad man.
The fact that Sherlock has picked up on the fact that John prefers tall brunettes with prominent cheekbones is very telling. To be extra safe, he stays away from the inn entirely that night, and when dawn comes, we can see him waiting out He realizes he needs to test the sugar and decides to use John, and he uses John probably because he doesn't think drug use is that big of a deal. Winning John back over here is easy. He just has to let John see a bit of the feelings he's constantly holding back. He even makes sure not to wear a scarf so John can see his exposed neck.
How about Louise Mortimer? Did you get anywhere with her?
No.
Too bad. Did you get any information?
You're being funny now.
Thought it might break the ice a bit.
Funny doesn't suit you. Let's stick to ice.
John.
It's fine.
No, wait, what happened last night? Something happened to me, something I've not really experienced before.
Yes, you said fear. Sherlock Holmes got scared, you said.
No. It was more than that, John. It was doubt. I felt doubt. Always been able to trust my senses, the evidence of my own eyes until last night.
You can't actually believe that you saw some kind of monster.
No, I can't believe that. I did see it, so the question is, how? How?
Yes. Yeah, right, good. So you got something to go on then? Good luck with that.
This is what I said before, John. I meant it. I don't have friends. I've just got one.
Right.
John?
John! You are amazing. You are fantastic.
Yes.
They go back to the inn, and Sherlock protects the gay couple who couldn't bear to put their dog down.
Billy took him to the vet and, you know.
It's dead.
Put down. Yeah. No choice.
Not that he finds that relatable or anything. At the end of the episode, Sherlock pretends to be totally clueless as to why someone would ever be upset at the death of their dog.
So they didn't have it put down then, the dog?
Obviously. Because they just couldn't bring themselves to do it.
I see.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. Sentiment?
Sentiment.
He's very clearly trying to get John to believe he's someone he's not, and it works. Although John's entry still talks about how much more human he seems. Unfortunately for Sherlock, this stage doesn't last much longer. Sherlock's plan keeps John from guessing Sherlock's feelings for the few months between the Hounds of Baskerville and the Reichenbach Fall. And Sherlock spends this entire episode freaking out over what Moriarty is planning. He's trying desperately to stay caught up and failing miserably.
Somehow this is part of his scheme.
When Moriarty comes to 221B, Sherlock tries to stay in control, but there are plenty of cracks in the facade. He really reveals his hand when he asks how Moriarty will burn him immediately after Moriarty talks about pressure points. He's preoccupied with the idea that Moriarty will try to hurt John.
And every person has their pressure point. Someone that they want to protect from harm. Easy peasy.
So how are you going to do it? Burn me.
Moriarty just vaguely warns him that he's saving that one up for the big finale.
Oh, that's the problem. The final problem. Have you worked out what it is yet? What's the final problem? I did tell you. But did you listen?
Again, there are plenty of cracks in Sherlock's facade in this episode. Even Molly picks up on them.
You look sad when you think he can't see you.
And Sherlock is so on edge that he starts crying over a glycerol molecule.
The glycerol molecule. PGPR.
After things go badly at the police station, Sherlock insists on taking a separate cab from John. And the use of John's motif here makes it clear that he's doing this because he's afraid of what he will do if he's alone with John right now. He wants to talk to him, but still feels like he can't.
Okay.
Thinking. This is my cab. You get the next one.
Why?
You might talk.
Unfortunately, that leaves him in the cab with Moriarty alone, and he's once again warned that what's happening now won't be the end of his troubles.
But that wasn't the end of Sir Beaustelot's problem. No. That wasn't the final problem.
After this, Sherlock starts getting very worried that John will doubt him. After all, he's been trying to hide his feelings for so long that John might actually believe that he'd fake cases to get attention. He's relieved when John never wavers.
You're worried they're right.
What?
You're worried they're right about me.
No.
That's why you're so upset you can't even entertain the possibility that they might be right. You're afraid that you've been taken in as well.
No, I'm not.
Moriarty is playing with your mind too. Can't you
See what's going on?
No, I know you for real.
100%.
Nobody could fake being such an annoying dick all the time.
When they're on the run, John harshly tells him that they need to work together, and it's a memory that will haunt Sherlock for years.
Sherlock, wait! We're going to need to coordinate.
As we know, because it was in his little montage.
Wait! We're going to need to coordinate.
After they learn Moriarty is the one putting lies about him in the papers, Sherlock starts talking about how clever the plan is. He apparently knows exactly how to sell a big lie.
That's what you do when you sell a big lie. You wrap it up in a truth to make it more palatable.
It's a hint of the big lie he's selling to John, that he's not in love with him. You wrap it up in a truth, that you're inexperienced and afraid and don't know how this works. He realizes right after that he'll probably have to fake suicide and leave John for a long time, and he starts crying.
There's only one thing he needs to do to complete his game, and that's to...
Sherlock?
Something I need to do.
Well, what, can I help?
Not my own.
He doesn't stop all the way to the hospital, and when Molly finds him, he's still distraught that he'll have to leave John.
You're wrong, Irene. You do count. You've always counted, and I've always trusted you. But you were right. I'm not okay.
That he has to settle for telling Molly this secret.
What do you need?
You.
When Moriarty stages a situation to get John to leave, Sherlock plays into John's fears that he's a heartless monster one last time, thinking this is the best chance to keep John safe.
Jesus, she's dying, Sherlock. Let's go.
You go, I'm busy.
Busy?
Thinking, I need to think.
You need to... Doesn't she mean anything to you? You once half killed a man because he laid a finger on her.
She's my landlady.
She's dying! You machine! Sod this. Sod this. You stay here if you want, on your own.
Alone is what I have. Alone protects me.
Nope. Friends protect people.
Because John gave him an idea of the computer key code, Sherlock goes to the roof thinking he has things mostly figured out, that he might not actually have to fake his death. That's just the backup plan. But he gets thoroughly outplayed.
Good. You got that too.
I can kill Rich Brooke and bring back Jim Moriarty.
No. This is too easy. This is too easy. There is no key.
Do that!
I knew you'd fall for it. That's your weakness. You always want everything to be clever.
Moriarty starts using his pressure points against him.
Let me give you a little extra incentive. Your friends will die if you don't.
John.
Not just John.
Everyone. Mrs. Hudson. Everyone.
Lestrade.
3 bullets. 3 gunmen. 3 victims. There's no stopping them now.
And so he has to go through with it after all. Mycroft told him that it was safer to make John believe he actually committed suicide.
Actually, that was mostly Mycroft's idea.
And Sherlock believes him. On the phone, he's deeply moved by John's steadfast loyalty, even now.
Okay, shut up, Sherlock. Shut up. The first time we met, you knew all about my sister, right?
Nobody could be that clever.
You could.
His lie here is revealing. He wanted to impress John when they met.
I researched you.
Before we met, I discovered everything that I could to
impress you.
He hints to John that it's a trick and then jumps.
It's a trick.
Just a magic trick.
Sherlock!
When John gets to him, I imagine he's suffering over John's pain.
I'm a doctor. Let me come through. Let me come through, please. No, he's my friend. He's my friend, please.
But he knows that John will either temporarily go through this, or John will actually die, and Sherlock can't let that happen. He follows John to the grave and listens to his speech, becoming more sure than ever that John loves him, and that once he's taken care of the people putting them in danger, they will finally be able to be together.
There were times I didn't even think you were human, but let me tell you this. You were the best man, the most human being that I've ever known, and no one will ever convince me that you told me a lie. So, there. But please, there's just one more thing, mate. One more thing. One more miracle, Sherlock, for me. Don't be dead. for me. Just stop it. Stop this.
It's a long and painful process, though. He gets kidnapped and tortured at least once. The thing that gets him through all of it is the certainty of the happiness that's waiting for him when he finally returns. John will be there, and that will have been worth everything. So when he comes back, he's shocked to hear that John isn't in Baker Street anymore.
I think I'll surprise John. He'll be delighted.
You think so?
Drop into Baker Street, who knows, jump out of a cake.
Baker Street? He isn't there anymore.
He puts up the arrogant mask again, but he's been looking forward to being with John for so long. He wants to look handsome.
What do you think of this shirt?
And when he stares out over the city, he talked about wanting to breathe in and feel its heartbeat. We hear John's chords, making sure we know what that was really about.
Just put me back in London. Need to get to know the place again, breathe it in. Feel every quiver of its beating heart.
He also rubs his lips just after complaining about John's mustache, making it clear that he's imagining how it will feel when he's kissing him.
Well, we'll have to get rid of that.
We?
He looks ancient. I can't be seen to be wandering around with an old man.
Nice little spot. They have a few bottles of the 2000 Santa Million.
He enters the restaurant feeling confident, although that wavers when he actually sees John. Still, he gets the idea to come back in a funny way. John 2 years ago would have loved that sort of thing. It's also really telling how urgently he's trying to interrupt this proposal, using the wine to tell John that he would prefer being with him.
So I think you find this vintage exceptionally if you're like in the social qualities of the org with some of the color of the new.
No, sorry, not now.
Like a gaze from a crowd of strangers, suddenly one is aware of staring into the face of an old friend.
Now, look, seriously, could you just...
Interesting thing, a tuxedo. There's distinction to friends and anonymity to waiters.
He's not thinking about all of the pain he put John through. That much is obvious when he tries to process John's less than pleased reaction.
Tessa, is yours rub off too?
Oh my God, do you have any idea what you've done?
Okay, John, I'm suddenly realizing I probably owe you some sort of an apology.
I just don't...
He tries to cleverly explain how he survived. John always loved that part, only for John to angrily tell him that he doesn't care about that.
You know, for a genius, you can be remarkably thick.
What?
I don't care how you faked it, Sherlock. I want to know why.
His explanation only makes things worse. He makes one last attempt, trying to lure John in by reminding him how thrilling it is to be together, just the two of them against the rest of the world, but it doesn't work.
You have missed this. Admit it. The thrill of the chase, the blood pumping through your veins, just the two of us against the rest of the world.
Sherlock doesn't understand what went wrong.
I don't understand. I said I'm sorry, isn't that what you're supposed to do?
He's shocked that John's new girlfriend apparently likes him enough to want to talk John around into speaking to him again, especially after how obvious he felt like his romantic intentions were.
I'll talk him round.
You will?
Oh, yeah.
He stares sadly at John as he drives away. He tells everyone else he's back almost like an afterthought. And he can't go back to pretending to be emotionless after all of that. It was hard enough the first time. He starts encouraging Mycroft to find friends.
I'm not lonely, Sherlock.
How would you know?
He's so lonely that he calls Molly. She came through for him the last time he couldn't go to John.
Molly?
Yes.
Would you
Would you like to solve crimes?
But it's a total disaster.
Away.
Why would someone go to all that trouble?
Why indeed, John?
They end up going their separate ways, and Sherlock eats alone in the dark. Until Mary comes by and lets Sherlock know that John is in danger.
Oh, Mrs. Hudson. So I think someone's got John. John Watson.
Hang on. Who are you?
I'm his fiancée.
Mary?
He registers that it's odd that she knows of the skip code, but came to him anyway.
Someone sent me this. At first I thought it was just a Bible thing, spam, but it's not. It's a skip code.
But he's so distracted by the news that John is in trouble that he forgets about it. He heroically rides through London and dives into a fire to save John. He's so soft towards him too, it almost seems familiar somehow.
John! John!
John!
John!
There we go. Just a standard electrocardio restart. She'll be fine.
Are you all right, my love? Can you hear me?
Garrideb's 2, the Garabing. When will the third Garrideb come? For the one and only time. I got a glimpse of a great heart as well as a great... That's next time. Okay, Sherlock still doesn't try to force himself back into John's life, and he's distracted by how guilty he feels both about what he did to John and that John is still in danger because of him.
Anyway, it was then that I first noticed it was missing. I said, have you checked down the back of the sofa? He's always losing things down the back of the sofa, aren't you, dear?
When John shows back up at Baker Street, he's shocked.
John?
He can't help but act like a boy whose crush came to visit.
Sorry, you're busy.
No, they were just leaving.
Oh, were we?
Yes.
No, if you've got a case.
No, not a case, no.
Yeah, well, we're here on Saturday,
yes,
remember?
Great, wonderful, just get out.
And he gets so blatant with the flirting that even John notices.
So you shaved it off then?
Yeah. Wasn't working for me.
Yeah, I'm glad.
We didn't like it?
I prefer my doctor's clean shaven.
It's not a sentence you hear every day.
He's clearly holding a lot back here, and it's out of guilt because of what he did to John before and what is still happening to John now.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, not bad. Bit smoked.
Right.
Last night, who did that? And why did they target me?
I don't know.
Is it someone trying to get to you through me? Is it something to do with this terrorist thing you talked about?
I don't know. I can't see the pattern. It's too nebulous.
Still, maybe they can at least solve a case together again. Both of them find it very hard to talk about their feelings, and Sherlock doesn't know how to apologize to John. So when he realizes that he can shut the bomb off, he decides to use the situation to say things he wouldn't normally let himself say. He gives a very earnest apology, saying he doesn't know how else to do this.
Sorry. What? I can't do it, John. I don't know how. Forgive me.
What?
Please, John, forgive me for all the hurt that I caused you.
John is smart and guesses what he's doing.
No. This is a trick.
No.
Another one of your bloody tricks.
No.
You're just trying to make me say something nice.
Not this time.
But he still says Sherlock is the best and wisest man he's ever known, which is clearly more than Sherlock is expecting.
Look, I find it difficult. This sort of stuff.
I know.
You were the best and the wisest man that I have ever known. Yes, of course, I forgive you.
He might actually start laughing, partially in relief. When John asks why he lied, Sherlock's long pause makes it clear what exactly he didn't know how to do.
Why did you let me go through all that?
I didn't lie altogether. I've absolutely no idea how to turn any of these silly little lights off.
Neither of them know how to talk about their relationship. After John seems to really want a life with Mary, Sherlock resolves to be supportive of John's new relationship and ignore any evidence that it's not working.
Not saying a word.
No, best not.
It's enough that John has accepted him back into his life. Still, he's worried that he's made his feelings obvious. He's overestimating how well John sees him.
You'd have to be an idiot not to see it. You love it.
Love what?
They nearly talk about their feelings, but before they can, Sherlock rushes to put his mask back on.
I asked you for one more miracle. I asked you to stop being dead.
I heard you. Anyway, time to go and be Sherlock Holmes.
John writes up the case and it's still deceptively romantic, but also shows that John thinks so lowly of him that he would even consider that Sherlock put him in the fire to make him forgive him. John clearly just wants him around for the cases. It's an addiction for him, which is fine. He can do that. He'll be whatever John needs him to be to make up for what he's done. In the build-up to the wedding, Sherlock is feeling extremely sad about the whole thing. There are hints both on his blog and through the Sholto mirror that Sherlock is feeling suicidal around this time, but that he wouldn't ever consider it because of what it would do to John.
Mr. Holmes, you and I are similar, I think.
Yes, I think we are.
There's a proper time to die, isn't there?
Of course there is.
And one should embrace it when it comes. Like a soldier.
Of course one should, but not at John's wedding. We wouldn't do that, would we? You and me. We would never do that to John Watson.
When John asks Sherlock to be his best man, Sherlock is shocked to learn that John still loves him in any way, that he still thinks of Sherlock as his best friend.
It is, and I want to be up there with the two people that I love and care about most in the world.
Yes.
So Mary Morstan.
Yes.
And you.
He wasn't hoping for that much after all he did. He's still sad, but he's trying to ensure other people's happiness. Around this time, he encourages a lesbian to leave her unhappy marriage and be with the woman she loves while she still has the chance. When Sherlock first hears about Sholto, he becomes preoccupied with him and the possible concrete evidence that John is attracted to men. He tries to talk about Sholto with John.
So why don't you see him anymore?
Who?
Your previous commander, Sholto.
Previous commander?
I meant ex.
Previous suggests that I currently have a commander.
Which you don't.
Which I don't.
Of course you don't. He was decorated, wasn't he? A war hero.
Not to everyone. He led a team of crows into battle.
Crows?
New recruits. It's standard procedure to break the new boys in, but it went wrong. They all died. He was the only survivor. The press and the families gave him hell. He gets more death threats than you.
Well, I wouldn't count on that.
Why have you suddenly taken an interest in another human being?
I'm chatting. Won't be trying that again.
But this just makes John bring up Mary, and Sherlock runs away because he can't bear to hear John talk about how much better Mary is for him than he is.
The thing about Mary is she has completely turned my life around. Changed everything.
He tries to check out other soldiers to help himself move on.
James, what's up?
But then he watches John save a man's life, and it's the most amazing thing he's ever seen.
Sherlock.
Hmm?
He's still breathing.
Oh my God. What do we do?
Then give him a scarf.
What?
Quickly, now. Call an ambulance.
What?
Call an ambulance now. Do it! Nurse, press here, hard.
Nurse?
Yeah, I'm making do. Keep pressure on that wound. Stephen, stay with me.
But in all of this, there is only one element which can be said to be truly remarkable. There was one feature, and only one feature, of interest in the whole of this baffling case, and quite frankly, it was the usual. John Watson.
He tries to plan the best, most romantic stag night, and goes to Molly, hoping she can help him avoid getting too drunk and doing something he'll regret.
How did you calculate John's ideal intake and mine? To remain in the sweet spot the whole evening? Light-headed, good.
Urinating in wardrobes, bad.
He and John very nearly do something anyway.
I don't mind.
Am I a woman?
But reading John's blog afterward convinces Sherlock that John only wanted a one-night stand, and Sherlock really couldn't handle being that vulnerable around John only to lose him in the morning, and that definitely isn't worth breaking up a couple, so he doesn't mention it. At the wedding, he's sad and distracted and jealous.
Into battle.
Newlyweds. Just the bride and groom, please.
Sherlock? Oh, sorry.
When asked to point out a sexual partner, Sherlock first looks to a recently divorced doctor. That would be ideal.
That's the sort of thing you're looking for. The man over there in blue is your best bet. Recently divorced doctor with the ginger cat.
His best man speech is full of love for John.
So if I didn't understand I was being asked to be best man, it is because I never expected to be anybody's best friend. certainly not the best friend of the bravest and kindest and wisest human being I have ever had the good fortune of knowing. John, I am a ridiculous man, redeemed only by the warmth and constancy of your friendship. But as I am apparently your best friend, I cannot congratulate you on your choice of companion. Actually, now I can. Mary, when I say you deserve this man, it is the highest compliment of which I am capable. John, you have endured war and injury and tragic loss. So sorry again about that last one. So know this, today you sit between the woman you have made your wife and the man you have saved. In short, the two people who love you most in all this world. And I know I speak for Mary as well when I say we will never let you down, and we have a lifetime ahead to prove that.
And it's only a portion of what he wants to say, but he can see how much it's affecting John.
If I try and hug him, stop me.
Certainly not.
What's wrong? What happened? Why are you all doing that? John?
Oh, shit.
Did I do it wrong?
No, you didn't. Come in.
I haven't finished yet.
Yeah, I know.
So on to some funny stories. Can you wait till I sit down?
But he doesn't understand why. It's not until the end that it all starts to click. After remembering the stag night and their recent cases, and how he thought he had communicated his feelings when he really hadn't said anything out aloud.
I explained to him that I'd never expected this request, and I was a little daunted in the face of it.
Sherlock.
I nonetheless promised that I would do my very best to accomplish a task which was, for me, as demanding and difficult as any I had ever contemplated. Additionally, I thanked him for the trust he placed in me and indicated that I was, in some ways, very close to being moved by it.
Yeah, it's getting a bit scary now.
It later transpired that I'd said none of this out loud.
And seeing how repressed Sholto is.
I didn't think he'd show up at all. John says he's the most unsociable man he's ever met.
He is. He's the most unsociable. That's why he's bouncing around him like a puppy.
Sherlock realizes what went wrong. John wants to be with him, but Sherlock never made his feelings clear. John reacted so emotionally to so little, and he didn't think Sherlock would even want to be hugged. Did he really never make it clear how he feels? He decides to fix that.
Not you! Not you!
You. It's always you. John Watson, you keep me right.
Here he has every intent of talking to John after this case is resolved, and makes a very public declaration to John, equating it to John's wedding vows.
More importantly, however, today we saw two people make vows. I've never made a vow in my life, and after tonight I never will again. So, here in front of you all, my first and last vow. Mary and John. Whatever it takes, whatever happens, from now on, I swear I will always be there. Always. For all three of you.
But then he deduces that Mary is pregnant and loses his nerve.
Well, you're hardly going to need me around now that you've got a real baby on the way. You're right.
Leaves the wedding early. After writing up the world's most heartbroken blog entry, and that's saying a lot, Sherlock gets involved with drugs again. Saying it's for a case helps assuage the guilt, but it's a lot easier dealing with his feelings when he's high. Again, there's pretty clear inspiration from the private life of Sherlock Holmes.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself?
Thoroughly. But this will take care of it.
He starts dating Janine so he can break into an office, and they have the world's most chaste relationship, and he literally stays on the other side of town when she starts sleeping over. A month after the wedding, John happens to stumble across him, and he's so high that he greets him with an innuendo.
Have you come for me? You think I know a lot of people here? Hey, all right?
Oh, hello, John. Didn't expect to see you here. Come for me, too.
John drags him to the hospital, and literally everyone is being mean to him.
Well, is he clean?
Clean.
and he's bitter that John never came to see him. So he lets himself point out the obvious problems with John's marriage.
If you were anywhere near this kind of thing again, you could have called, you could have talked to me.
Please do relax. This is all for a case.
What kind of case would need you doing this?
I might as well ask you why you started cycling to work.
When he gets cut off, his mirror fills us in on the rest.
You keep your shirts folded, ready to pack.
Sherlock knows John isn't satisfied. When Sherlock gets back to Baker Street, it's obvious that Sherlock is furious with Mycroft. If he hadn't encouraged him to close himself off, he wouldn't be in this mess right now. On top of that, Mycroft is letting a blackmailer run free. He doesn't seem to understand that people have secrets they want to protect.
Magnussen is not your business.
Oh, you mean he's yours?
You may consider him under my protection.
I consider you under his thumb.
If you go against Magnussen, then you will find yourself going against me.
Okay, I'll let you know if I notice. Brother mine, don't appall me when I'm high.
John sasses Mycroft, and Sherlock finds it charming.
I hope I won't have to threaten you as well.
Well, I think we'd both find that embarrassing.
When Mycroft is gone, Sherlock starts seducing John again.
For a case, you said?
Yep.
What sort of case?
Too big and dangerous for any sane individual to get involved in.
You trying to put me off?
God, no. I'm trying to recruit you.
Of course, he knows Janine is there and plans to break up with her later that day. So he decides to get a small amount of use out of this and give John a small taste of how he's felt the last few months.
So, it's just a guess, but you've probably got some questions.
Yeah, one or two, pretty much.
Naturally.
But I mean, you are in a relationship?
Yes, I am.
You and Janine?
Yes, me and Janine.
Care to elaborate?
Well, we're in a good place. It's, very affirming.
You got that from a book?
Everyone got that from a book.
It's petty and childish, but again, he knows it'll be over in hours. Maybe he's reverting back to his old tactics and trying to push John to make the first move. They go to Magnussen's office, and Sherlock refers to Janine dating him as a human error, referring to her knowing he's gay and dating him anyway, not knowing John is hearing it very differently.
See, as long as there's people, there's always a weak spot.
That was Janine.
It's because it was Janine. She's Magnussen's PA. That's the whole point.
Did you just get engaged to break into an office?
Yeah. Stroke of luck meeting her at your wedding. You could take some of the credit.
Jesus. Sherlock, she loves you.
Yes, like I said, human error.
He smells familiar perfume and suspects who it is, and rushes in to prevent Lady Smallwood from doing something she'll regret.
This is the protection he wants.
Additionally, if you're going to commit murder, you might consider changing your perfume, Lady Smallwood.
But Sherlock has the wrong person.
That's not Lady Smallwood, Mr. Holmes.
He still offers to help Mary because she's John's wife and she's having John's baby, but she just shoots him instead.
Mary, whatever he's got on you, let me help.
Oh, Sherlock, if you take one more step, I swear I will kill you.
No, Mrs. Watson. You won't.
Internally, he seems sure that she's just killed him.
So come on, what's going to kill you?
What was directly behind you when you were murdered?
Not been murdered yet.
Balance of probability, little brother.
It's the next thing that's going to kill you.
They're putting me down too now.
Speaking of which, if you want a really in-depth look on this scene, I recommend the TJLC Advent video Kim did on it. I will link the correct one in the description. He equates the pain he's currently experiencing to what he already suffered when John married her by imagining her shooting him in her wedding dress. He tries to control his pain and goes to a chained-up Moriarty, who represents all of the feelings he's so afraid of, who tells him to embrace his emotions, his heartbreak.
Control! 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 You never felt pain, did you? Why did you never feel pain?
You always feel it, Sherlock.
But you don't have to fear it.
Pain. Heartbreak. Loss.
It's all good.
Why else would he say heartbreak? Sherlock. Sherlock tells himself through Moriarty that he's letting down John, that John is still in danger, and that's enough to allow Sherlock to pull off an actual miracle and come back to life.
John will cry buckets and buckets. It's him that I worry about the most. That wife. You're letting him down, Sherlock. John Watson is definitely in danger.
When he's still half drugged and out of it, Mary comes to him, warning him not to tell John who shot him.
You don't tell him. Sherlock. You don't tell John.
Talking to Janine just reminds him that he needs to figure out how to get John away from Mary without putting him in more danger.
Mary Watson. Who are you?
And he realizes he can't do it directly. He has to convince him to stay with her while also making sure he knows who she really is. So he arranges the scene at the empty houses so that Mary will threaten John and reveal herself as an assassin.
Why didn't you come to me in the first place?
Because John can't ever know that I lied to him. It would break him and I would lose him forever. And Sherlock, I will never let that happen. Please, understand. There is nothing in this world I would not do to stop that happening.
Sorry. Not that obvious a trick.
But then has to try to talk John into staying with her anyway. His heartbreak is underscoring this scene, especially in this exchange.
John, you are addicted to a certain lifestyle. You're abnormally attracted to dangerous situations and people. So is it truly such a surprise that the woman you fall in love with conforms to that pattern?
But she wasn't supposed to be like that. Why is she like that?
Because you chose her.
And when Mary starts using the lies Sherlock provided in her favor.
So that's what you were, an assassin. How could I not see that?
You did see that. And you married me. Because he's right.
Having to convince John to trust her literally breaks his heart and sends him into cardiac arrest.
She saved my life.
She shot you.
Mixed messages, I got you. That's...
Shut up. Shut up, take him. Got him?
He stays in the hospital for a considerable length of time, and during this time period makes a deal with Magnussen, reasoning that once they've taken care of him, he can focus on Mary. He invites both John and Mary to his family's house for Christmas, planning to take John to deal with Magnussen, and finally start working together. It doesn't work out like he hopes, and so Sherlock decides to give up literally everything to keep John from suffering because of this, also encouraging him to stay with Mary so she won't hurt him.
Oh, I'm not a villain. I have no evil plan. I'm a businessman acquiring assets. You happen to be one of them. Sorry, no chance for you to be a hero this time, Mr. Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes and John Watson, stand away from that man. Do it now.
Oh, do your research. I'm not a hero. I'm a high-functioning sociopath. Merry Christmas! Get away from me, John! Stay well back!
Christ, Sherlock! Don't fire! Do not fire on Sherlock Holmes! Do not fire!
Oh, Christ, Sherlock.
Give my love to Mary. Tell her she's safe now.
After being stuck in solitary and being told he's going on that fatal mission Mycroft warned him about, he uses the opportunity to take enough drugs to overdose. He's planning to finally tell John how he always felt.
John, there's something I should say. I've meant to say always and I never have. Since it's unlikely we'll ever meet again, I might as well say it now.
But he realizes it would be selfish and backs out at the last minute, deciding to make John laugh instead.
Sherlock is actually a girl's name.
He also takes off his glove so he can feel John's hand against his one last time, holds it, and then leaves.
To the very best of times, John.
He pulls up the blog entry on how he and John met, planning to drift off while rereading John describing him as strangely likable and charming, wishing for a second chance. And he gets one.
Well, I certainly hope you've learned your lesson.
As it turns out, you're needed.
For God's sake, make up your mind. He needs me this time.
Of course, that presents a whole new problem. And he was so overloaded on drugs anyway, that he has an intense Victorian drug trip representing how repressed he himself is. He uses imaginary and historical people to try to figure out how things will play out, all the while most preoccupied with how John feels about him and Mary, what will happen with that when he returns, and avoiding the idea that Moriarty could possibly be actually alive at all costs. He starts the dream pretty sure that John will leave Mary.
You have recently married a man of a seemingly kindly disposition who has now abandoned you for an unsavory companion of dubious morals. You've come to this agency as a last resort in the hope that reconciliation may still be possible.
Good Lord, Holmes.
All of this is, of course, perfectly evident from your perfume.
A perfume?
Yes, a perfume which brings insight to me and disaster to you.
How so?
Because I recognized it, and you did not.
Mary?
John,
Why in God's name are you pretending to be a client?
because I could think of no other way to see my husband. Husband.
It was an affair of international intrigue.
It was a murdered country squire.
Nevertheless, matters were pressing.
I don't mind you going, my darling. I mind you leaving me behind.
But what could you do?
Well, what do you do? Except wander around, taking notes, looking surprised.
Enough!
He confronts himself with his unspoken impulses, and we see here that Sherlock desperately wants to believe that John knows how he feels.
All emotion is abhorrent to me. It is the grit in a sensitive instrument, the crack in the lens.
Yes.
Well, there you are. You see, I've said it all before.
No, I wrote all that. You're quoting yourself from the Strand magazine.
Well, exactly.
No, those are my words, not yours. That is the version of you that I present to the public. The brain without a heart. The calculating machine. I write all of that, Holmes, and the readers lap it up, but I do not believe it.
But more than anything, he's still sure that he has to keep his feelings hidden. Falling is always deadly when you don't have something to secure your landing.
Those things will kill you.
Why aren't you dead? Because it's not the fall that kills you, Sherlock. Of all people, you should know that. It's not the fall. It's never the fall. It's the landing.
Back on the plane, he tries to minimize how uncertain and emotional he is. But he's so drugged, it's still obvious something is wrong.
I've been reading John's blog, the story of how you met.
He falls back into his dream, and it's clear that he interpreted John's fear over his relapse as disappointment and anger.
Listen, I'm happy to play the fool for you. I will run along behind you like some half-wit, making you look clever if that's what you need. But dear God above, you will hold yourself to a higher standard.
Why?
Because people need you to.
What people? Why? Because of your idiot stories?
Yes, because of my idiot stories.
And because of this, he worries all over again that John would rather be with Mary.
I thought I was losing you. I thought perhaps we were neglecting each other.
Well, you're the one who moved out.
I was talking to Mary.
Even his elaborate mirror solution of he and John working together to punish Mary for the sins of her past isn't enough. Moriarty is there to tell him the whole thing is just in his head. He's dreaming if he thinks John would ever return his feelings.
It doesn't make sense, Sherlock. Because it's not real. None of it. What's he talking about? This is all in your mind. Sherlock. Holmes! You're dreaming.
In the fake graveyard scene, we see some of Sherlock's worst fears play out. And John is so upset and disappointed and angry that he leaves Sherlock when he needs him most to be with Mary.
We have a real-life problem right now.
Getting to that, it's next on the list. Just let me do this.
No, everyone always lets you do whatever you want. That's how you got in this state.
John, please.
I'm not playing this time, Sherlock. Not anymore. When you're ready to go to work, give me a call. I'm taking Mary home.
You're what?
Mary's taking me home.
Better.
And then we get his deepest fear. Sherlock is stuck on a dramatic, very emotional reimagining of what happened on the rooftop, telling himself that he's going to be stuck regretting this forever. There's no escaping Moriarty or his own insecurities and unspoken feelings. He's totally powerless here.
This is how we end, you and I. Always here,
Always together. Oh, you think you're so big and strong, Sherlock? Not with me. I am your weakness. I keep you down. Every time you stumble, every time you fail, when you're weak, I am there. No, don't try to fight it. Lie back and lose.
The only thing that saves him is a sudden realization. He won't actually be stuck this way for one key reason. John loves him.
Shall we go over together? It has to be together, doesn't it? At the end, it's always just you and me.
Professor, if you wouldn't mind stepping away from my friend, I do believe he finds your attention a shade annoying.
That's not fair, there's two of you.
There's always two of us. Don't you read the Strand?
He finally settles it that John's blog is only written that way because John loves him. He wants it to be just the two of them too. He imagines John taking care of Moriarty for him and is literally swooning.
Thank you, John.
Since when do you call me John?
You'd be surprised.
No, I wouldn't. Time you woke up, Sherlock. I'm a storyteller. I know when I'm in one.
Of course. Of course you do, John.
So what's he like? The other me, in the other place.
Smarter than he looks.
Pretty damn smart, then.
Pretty damn smart.
Newly secure in John's feelings for him, suddenly Sherlock is no longer afraid to fall. He knows John will be there to catch him.
So how do you plan to wake up?
Oh. I should think like this.
You sure?
Between you and me, John, I always survive a fall.
But how?
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Wakes up and immediately lights up when he sees John, showing that he's conquered his fear of Moriarty by lightly and affectionately using Moriarty's big return line.
Miss me?
He mistakenly thinks that because he's conquered his fear of Moriarty, the real Moriarty can't possibly be back, and he assures John that he has the whole thing figured out.
Of course he's dead. He blew his own brains out. No one survives that. I just went to the trouble of an overdose to prove it. Moriarty is dead. No question. But more importantly, I know exactly what he's going to do next.
Does he really, though? No. So what does Sherlock have left to do in terms of character growth? If the waterfall scene really is Sherlock deciding to let John in because he realizes now he can trust him, not much. He just has to follow through on that. Circumstances are likely to make that difficult. But as a character, he's very close to where he needs to be emotionally before he and John can be together. He does have to realize he was wrong about Moriarty. And if anything has the power to make him lose some of that character growth, both emotionally and thematically, he would be it. It might even necessitate some big internal scene of Sherlock reassuring himself that it's okay to tell John how he feels. But we'll see. We can guess that Sherlock's biggest giveaway moment won't even be intentional. It will be an earnest reaction to John being in danger. And at that point, he just needs to follow through. To not shut down again, which at that point he'll be in very little danger of doing. And to let John finally see his great heart. There are a lot of circumstances to overcome between now and then. But as a character, Sherlock is very nearly there. He just needs to get John to see it. And as we'll see next time, John is the big unresolved problem at this point. Other than, you know, all of the plot contrivances. John as a character is in a really bad space right now. And it's going to take a lot for him to be ready for the big moments. But more on that next time. Until then, thank you again to Natty for writing the 2.0 reading last year. I really enjoyed it. Wish I could share it with you now. But again, you can find Natty back on Tumblr. Link below. I hope you guys are getting really excited for Series 4. And until next time, thank you for watching and get ready to believe.